Good morning, this is Mike Britt. I'm a freelance professional guitar instructor. You might remember me from Savage Rock School, Future Artist Now, Old Town Music. I'm going to show you a little bit about tuning a guitar. Usually when you start out learning how to tune, you do this 5th fret thing. This isn't a good way to do it. Why isn't it a good way to do it? It's because of Whisper Down the Lane. Do you remember Whisper Down the Lane? You learned this in preschool. You have one kid whisper into the next person's ear, "There's an apple in my banana." So then that person tells the next person, "There's Snapple in my bandana." And then that person tells the next person, "I drank a Snapple with my grandma." And that person tells you see what I mean? By the time you get to the end, it has nothing to do with what you started with. So that's what the problem that happens here. Because this string got its reference from this string, which got its reference from this string, which got its reference from this string, and so on, if there are any imperfections along the way, the problem will be compounded, multiplied. By the time you get to the end, you'll be so far off from what you started. Now that's the problem that you get when you tune this way. So we got to do this multi-angular thing. Really, really, really tiny. You're bending it a little bit. So there's a possibility of imperfection. So we got to try bending the other string. So here's an E, here's an E. Doesn't sound quite right. That sounds better. Now let's go back and check the other way. Let's check an A and an A. Now that's not the same. Why is that? It's because when you're holding this string down somewhere, you're bending it out of tune slightly. When you're holding this string down somewhere, you're bending it out of tune slightly. See over here, I'm hitting the same two strings. I'm checking the relationships in two different spots. 5 frets to this 0. Negative fret down to 7. So we have a 12 fret difference here. Okay, so you're spreading the possibility of imperfection a little bit farther, and we're finding the average of both of these. So you got to know you're not going to get either of them perfect, because if you get one of them perfect, the other one's going to be off. So you got to find the average of the two. Okay, now we have both of them close enough. So the possibility of imperfection is averaged out. So let's do that to each string really quick. You see what I'm doing? Like, that sounds kind of close. This sounds kind of close. It's averaged out. Let's check the relationship of these two strings at a different angle. We got A and A. Alright, so we got D, E, F, G, A. So this is an A, should be an octave above that. They're both A's, they should be in harmony with each other, in tune. It's not quite the same. G, 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 D, D, D. B, 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 B. Checking the G and B strings together, using the old 4th fret technique. Now let's check it at a different angle. Let's check a G against a G. So this G string against a high G on the B string, that sounds okay. Averaged out against this same two strings, different relationship, a B and a B. Remember what I said about the averages. If you get one of them perfect, the other one's going to be off. And this is because you have 12 frets of difference of minuscule, tiny little differences in the geometry. You gotta look up Pythagoras. You know, there's a lot of geometry going on here. I mean, this is it's an amazing thing that a guitar works the way any musical instrument, the tuning thing system does the way it does. So now I have these two relationships averaged out. Let's get the last one. So I'm checking this E against an E. And I'm checking the same two strings, a B against a B. My prediction is that this is going to be better than before, but it's not going to be perfect. Listen to this, it's not going to be perfect. It's pretty close. That's not good. That's really close, but not good. That's alright. It's really close. It's good enough for intermediates, but it's not good enough for advanced. It's not perfect, it's not professional. You can't record like this and sell it and have people expect to think, you know, it doesn't sound, okay. The method that I used here is an improvement on the Whisper Down the Lane technique. The analogy is, you get the first person, they tell the next person, "There's an apple in the cherry." And then that person gets to say, "Did you just say there's an apple in the cherry?" And then they say, "Yes, I did." So then this person tells the next person, "There's an apple and a cherry." And then this person says, "Did you just say there's a Snapple and the berry?" "No, I said there's an apple and a cherry." Oh, thank you. So then that person tells the next person. So what we're doing is we're doing this double check system. So along the way, whispered down the lane is a little more reliable because by the time you get to the end, it's not scientifically exactly the same thing you started off with, but there's just so much better of a chance of it. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the third technique, and this is where we get rid of the whole idea of the whisper down the lane thing, and we have different people down the nodes actually asking other people, yo, what did that guy just say? Alright, so what I'm doing here is E against that E, E against that E, E against that E, E against that E, E against that E. Did you hear that? Along the way, it got a little bit worse and worse and worse. So I'm adjusting that E to that E. See how it was a little bit flat? Adjusting. Let's check this A string, okay? So we got an A right here. Not quite right. Now let's reference it with the D string. We got an A right here. It's close. Here's an A over here. Not quite it. Alright, let's check this A over here. Close. Let's check an A over here. Now the D string, there's a D over here. Not quite right. Here's a D over here. That's good. Here's a D over here. This G over here, we're going to check this G. See, it's a good, you know, so. This B string, now we're going to compare it to all the B's. Here's a B. 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 Here's an E. Here's an E. Here's an E. Here's another E. Using the other technique, we have 5 relationships to go by, and that results in, you know, imperfect tuning. The second technique, we had 5 relationships times 2, because this pair of strings was tested using 2 different relationships, and then this next pair was tested using 2 different relationships. So then you have a total of 10 different relationships that you use to, you know, arrive to a tuning that is a little more accurate than the first one. Using this technique, this string is checked against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combinations. This string is checked against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combinations. This string is, so you have 6 times 5, that's 30 different relationships that you have to average out in order to get. That's still not right. So let me try to find out how I actually tune. Alright, so I'm going to mess up the tuning again. I'm going to put the guitar down for a second. I'm going to relax. Hey, I feel like playing guitar. I'm going to grab this. Oh, it's not in tune. I got to tune it. Tuning each open string from memory, trying some chords. Pretty close. Double checking the relationships. Alright, so as you can see from the last minute or 2 of the video, the way I really tune, which was what I was trying to teach you this whole. Sorry, it took me 20 minutes to arrive to this point, but the way it's done is memorize what each open string is supposed to sound like, approximate that by tuning each open string by itself, and then you check the relationships of each of them to each other using multiple angles, and then you find the average of these multiple angles. And before you touch any string, double check that relationship with like a different angle and go for the average. That's all I can say. Good luck out there. If you have any questions, let me know.